Let's talk more about General Motors now. Rebecca Lindland is with us. She's Director of Research at IHS Automotive. Rebecca, you just heard Suzanne say it's not a surprise that Whitacre left, but we were just talking in the break, and that he's leaving is not a surprise, but perhaps when he's leaving is a surprise. Why is that?
Just the timing of it is so curious, Julie, because we're poised to hear the announcement of the IPO. There's a lot of rumors it's going to be tomorrow, Friday the 13th, which is a fun day, interesting day to do that on. But we'll really see. It's just the timing of it that's a little bit curious. To be fair, all along Whitacre has talked about the fact that he would leave possibly before the IPO. And one thing certainly is that Akerson is a very good person to lead the company through the transition into the IPO. So there's no doubt of his credentials in terms of financial world.
But is there a possibility the IPO could now be delayed? I mean, even though it wasn't confirmed that it was going to be tomorrow, do you think now that it's going to be pushed back and that demand may be hurt by this management change in the midst of it?
I don't think the timing will be changed because this isn't a surprise to anyone inside GM in terms of the board and the people that were doing the timing and setting up the timing for the IPO. I think they've known this all along. So I don't think that the timing will change at all. I just am afraid that it may weaken it a little bit because Wall Street doesn't like change. They didn't see anything wrong with Whitacre, and so it's just a curiosity as to the timing of this transition.
Rebecca, tell me a little bit more about Dan Akerson. You said you do think that he's a good person to lead a GM through this transition. I mean, it's interesting that we now have two former telecom executives in a row leading the automaker. Why do you think he's a good guy now to be in charge?
Well, because of his strong financial background. I've only known about this for a little over an hour also, and so the brief look that I had to look at his background, the first thing that really struck me was the deals. As Suzanne talked about, he's part of a private equity firm. He just seemed to really kind of have all of his fingers in all different types of financial deals. So while he hasn't led a traditional manufacturing company before, he certainly does have credentials to lead any company through a change in financial structure like GM is going through. And let's keep in mind, too, the main goal is to pay the government and the taxpayers back. So that's something that Whitacre focused on, and that's something that Akerson needs to focus on as well, or Akerson, I think it is.
Speaking of the taxpayer, Rebecca, we just talked about this Treasury statement as well, that the management changes happened without the involvement of the government. Is that encouraging to you that GM is operationally, just kind of doing its own thing without involvement from the government at this point?
Well, I don't think the government involvement in a company is good at all. So I think the fact that they are staying out of the management changes is a good thing. Certainly, I think that GM has proven that they have their eye on the ball in terms of getting taxpayers paid back. So the day-to-day running of the operations, the government has always talked about staying out of that, and I think that trend should definitely continue.
All right, Rebecca Lindland of IHS Automotive, thanks a lot for giving us your quick reaction. As you said, you know about the news just as much as we do. Rebecca, thanks a lot.